Have you ever paused, in a moment of quiet contemplation, when the noise of the world recedes, to ask the most fundamental question of a human life? Is my destiny a matter of chance, or is it a matter of choice? This is not an academic inquiry. It is the most practical and urgent question you will ever face. For within your answer lies the entire trajectory of your future. Upon your answer, you will either build a life of magnificent purpose, or you will resign yourself to an existence of quiet desperation. The vast majority of humanity, though they may never admit it aloud, have chosen their answer by default. They have chosen chance. They drift through life as a ship without a rudder, tossed by the capricious waves of circumstance, at the mercy of every passing, economic or emotional wind. They hope for success. They wish for wealth. They pray for happiness. And when their voyage is over, they find themselves washed ashore on the desolate coastlines of mediocrity and regret, wondering how their grand ambitions were lost at sea. This life of the drifter is marked by a constant, low-grade anxiety. It is the feeling that you are a passenger in your own life, a spectator to your own destiny. It is the nagging suspicion that the great and beautiful things are reserved for others, for the lucky, for the gifted, for the chosen. And so, you accept your lot. You learn to silence the whisper of your own potential. You mistake the rhythm of a predictable routine for the harmony of a well-lived life. But there exists another path. It is a path walked by a select few, the 1%. These are not the drifters. These are the architects. They do not drift upon the sea of life. They command the tides. They do not hope for a favorable wind. They build their own sails and set their own course. They understand that success is not an accident. They know that happiness is not a destination to be found, but a structure to be built. They have discovered that the universe is not a chaotic lottery, but a realm of immaculate order governed by immutable laws. What is the profound, world-altering difference between these two lives? It is not luck. It is not birthright. It is not found in the circumstances you were born into. It is found in an understanding of a set of timeless, unyielding principles, a science of personal achievement, an architecture of the mind that can take the raw materials of any circumstance, no matter how dire, and use them as the very stepping stones to greatness. Tonight, we are not here to dabble in fleeting motivation. Motivation is a spark in the dark. It provides a momentary flash of light, but it leaves you just as lost as before when it fades. We are here to do something far more permanent. We are here to learn how to build a fire, a steady, internal furnace of purpose so powerful that its flame cannot be extinguished by the storms of failure, the winds of criticism, or the downpour of temporary defeat. The principles I am about to share with you are not my own invention. I am merely a humble conduit, a messenger who has been given the great privilege of spending a lifetime studying the lives, philosophies, and habits of the most effective and successful men and women this world has ever known. Individuals like Andrew Carnegie, who built an industrial empire from the humblest of beginnings. Men like Henry Ford, who put the world on wheels, not because he was the greatest engineer, but because he understood how to orchestrate the minds of others. Visionaries like Thomas Edison, who, with only 3 months of formal schooling, illuminated the world by understanding that every failure was simply data pointing him toward success. These titans of industry and innovation were all students of the same laws, whether they named them or not. They were the master architects of their own destinies, and the blueprint they used is available to you. It is available to anyone with the courage to study it and the discipline to apply it. So, I ask you now to make a conscious decision. Set aside your preconceptions. Quiet the voice of the skeptic within you, for that voice is the guardian of your limitations. Open your mind, not as a passive vessel to be filled, but as a diamond to be faceted, ready to be cut and polished, so that it may finally reflect the brilliant light of your true potential. For over the course of our time together, we will embark upon a journey into the only territory that truly matters, the most powerful and creative dominion known to man, the 6 inches of space between your ears. For it is here, in this silent, unseen realm, that your entire world is conceived and constructed, long before it ever becomes your physical reality. Before we can begin to build, we must first survey the land upon which we stand. We must understand the nature of the ground beneath our feet. For most people, that ground is unstable. It is plagued by an invisible enemy, a force that silently sabotages their best efforts and chains them to a reality they do not desire. This enemy is not out there. It is not your boss, your finances, or your past. The true adversary is the tyranny of your own undisciplined thoughts. There are days, are there not, when the world seems to close in on you, when the sky turns a foreboding gray, the wind howls with 1,000 problems, and you feel buried under the suffocating weight of worry. But let me ask you a question. Where does that storm truly rage? Is it in the world outside, or is it inside the echo chamber of your own thinking? Here is one of the first great truths you must grasp. Life does not crush you with what it gives. It can only crush you with how you interpret what it gives. Two men can face the exact same event, the loss of a job, a financial setback, a personal betrayal. One man is destroyed by it. He sees it as the final verdict, a confirmation of his own inadequacy. The event becomes the tombstone of his ambitions. For the other man, the very same event becomes a turning point. He sees it not as punishment, but as preparation. He views the setback as a sacred training ground, an invaluable lesson delivered in a harsh package. It becomes the cornerstone of his future success. The event was the same. The interpretation was different. And in that difference lies the chasm between failure and achievement. The battle, therefore, is not out there. It begins and it ends in the mind. Every setback, every failure, every moment of pain is not, in itself, the enemy. The real adversary is the insidious thought that whispers, "This is the end." The voice of fear that says, "You are not enough." The voice of doubt that asks, "Who are you to dream so big?" But what if you trained your mind to answer back? What if, when failure strikes, your mind was disciplined to respond not with despair, but with defiance? This is not the end. This is the beginning of my wisdom. What if, when fear appeared, your mind was conditioned to say, "This is not a barrier. This is a sign that I am moving towards something that matters"? Imagine this. You are walking through a long hallway in complete, absolute darkness. Your heart begins to pound. The unknown presses in on you. The undisciplined mind panics. It stops. It retreats. It imagines monsters in the shadows. But the disciplined mind, the architect's mind, does something different. It accepts the darkness. It stretches out a hand, feels for the wall, and takes one small, deliberate forward step, and then another, and another. That is faith in motion. That is power. It is the understanding that you do not need to see the entire staircase to take the first step. This is the first great work, to become the sentinel at the gate of your mind, to understand that your mental world is the only true kingdom over which you have absolute, unquestionable control. You cannot control the weather. You cannot control the opinions of others. You cannot control the fluctuations of the economy. But you can, with rigorous practice, control your own thoughts. And in doing so, you control your response to all these things. In controlling your response, you control your destiny. This is the secret of the ancient alchemists. For centuries, humanity sought the fabled philosopher's stone, a mythical substance believed to possess the power to turn base metals, like lead, into pure gold. But the greatest alchemists of history were not those who toiled in dusty laboratories over bubbling cauldrons. They were the thinkers, the leaders, the builders who understood that the philosopher's stone was not a substance at all, it was a metaphor. It is a metaphor for the human mind. The true alchemy is the divine science of mental transmutation. It is the ability to take the lead of fear and transmute it into the gold of faith. It is the power to take the lead of ignorance and transmute it into the gold of wisdom. It is the process of taking the lead of despair, poverty, and failure, and through the focused application of thought, transmuting it into the pure, shining gold of purpose, prosperity, and achievement. This power is your birthright. It is the creative force of the universe, gifted to you, residing within you, waiting to be commanded. But a force so powerful cannot be left to its own devices. An untamed mind is like a wild river. It floods, it destroys, it carves paths of chaos. A disciplined mind is like a hydroelectric dam. The very same power of the river is channeled, directed, and used to provide light and energy to entire cities. And so, we arrive at the purpose of our gathering. Our purpose is to provide you with the blueprint for that dam. Our purpose is to present you with the very architecture of achievement. This is not a collection of clever sayings or motivational platitudes. This is a complete philosophy for living, a structured system of principles that work in harmony, one with another, to create an unstoppable momentum in your life. First, we will lay the cornerstone, the great foundation upon which the entire edifice rests. This is the principle of a definite chief aim. We will learn how to move from vague wishes to a white-hot, burning obsession that organizes all the forces of your mind and sends a clear signal to the universe about what you demand from life. Without this blueprint, all effort is wasted. Upon that foundation, we will erect the two great pillars that support the entire structure. The first is the one we have touched upon: dominion over the mind, the absolute mastery of your internal world. The second is a force so powerful that it has been called the personal secret of nearly every great leader in history: the driving force of the Mastermind Alliance. We will explore how you can multiply your own power exponentially by harmoniously aligning your mind with the minds of others. Once the pillars are in place, we will step into the forge of character. It is here that we will learn to embrace temporary defeat, to hammer out unwavering resilience upon the anvil of adversity, and to temper it with the cool water of decisive action. For it is in the forge that potential is transformed into power. But a grand structure is not only built, it must be sustained. And so, we will learn of the sustaining forces, the quiet, unyielding fire of daily discipline, and the profound, magnetic power of gratitude. These are the forces that maintain your creation and protect it from the erosion of time and complacency. And finally, when the work is done, we will place the capstone upon our creation. We will understand its ultimate purpose, the crowning achievement of a legacy. For the great aim of life is not merely to acquire, but to become. To build a life of such character, contribution, and courage that it leaves a ripple in the fabric of eternity. A legacy that speaks not in stone monuments, but in the uplifted lives of others. This is the path that is before you. It is a path of discipline, of courage, and of profound self-discovery. It will demand more of you than you have ever given before. It will require you to challenge your most deeply held fears and to dismantle the limitations you have long accepted as reality. But the reward for undertaking this journey is immeasurable. It is nothing less than the reclamation of your own life. It is the transition from being a creature of circumstance to becoming a creator of circumstances. It is the dawning realization that the power to shape your world does not lie in the hands of fate, but in your own. So, as we stand here, at the precipice of this great undertaking, you must make one final, crucial choice. You must decide if you will be a passive spectator to this information, or an active participant in your own transformation. You must commit, in this very moment, to no longer being a passenger. Make a silent vow to yourself, right now. A vow that the days of drifting are over, that from this day forward you will begin the sacred work of becoming the architect of your soul, the master of your fate, the captain of your destiny. Your new life does not begin tomorrow. It does not begin after this presentation is over. It begins now, with that decision. The blueprint is ready. The tools are at hand. Let us begin to build. We have spoken of a great undertaking. We have issued an invitation to leave the shores of chance and to become the architect of your own destiny. Now, the time for preamble is over. We must begin the work. And all great construction, whether of a towering skyscraper or a magnificent life, begins with a sober and thorough understanding of the primary building material. For us, that material is not stone, nor steel, nor timber. It is a substance far more potent, yet entirely invisible. It is the very ether from which all things are fashioned. It is thought. I will state a principle now that will serve as the bedrock for everything that is to follow. If you grasp this one truth in its full and awesome significance, the rest of our work together will be a matter of simple application. If you fail to grasp it, you will remain a drifter for the rest of your days. Here is the principle. Thought is the only thing over which you, or any other human being, have been given absolute, complete, and unquestionable control. Pause. Let the statement hang in the air. Consider the world you inhabit. You do not control the rising of the sun. You do not control the turning of the seasons. You do not control the thoughts, actions, or opinions of the 7 billion other souls who share this planet. You do not control the circumstances of your birth, nor can you ultimately control the hour of your death. The vast majority of the external universe operates entirely outside the sphere of your command. And this is the very fact that causes so much of humanity's suffering. People spend their entire lives in a futile struggle against the uncontrollable. They rage against the traffic. They despair over the economy. They are wounded by the careless words of others. They are slaves to the external, and as a result, their internal world is a tempest of chaos and reaction. But you have been given a gift, a sanctuary, a kingdom. Within the cosmos of your own consciousness, You are the absolute sovereign. In this internal realm, your authority is supreme. No person, no circumstance, no power on this earth can force a thought into your mind without your consent. They may influence you. They may tempt you. They may threaten you. But the final act of accepting a thought as your own reality is an act of your will, and yours alone. This is the great paradox of the human condition. To be physically powerless over so much of the universe, yet to be spiritually omnipotent within the kingdom of one's own mind. And it is the failure to recognize, to claim, and to exercise this inner sovereignty that is the root cause of all failure. Your mind, you see, is not a passive storage container for memories and facts. It is a broadcasting and receiving station of immense power. It is a vibrant, living, creative center. The thoughts that you choose to hold, to entertain, and to emotionalize are not idle, harmless things. They are living forces. They are potent seeds that you plant in the fertile soil of the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind, which takes its orders from the dominant thoughts you feed it, works tirelessly, day and night, to bring those seeds to harvest in the form of your physical circumstances. If you consistently plant seeds of fear, doubt, and poverty consciousness, if you broadcast thoughts of, I can't, it's impossible, I'm not worthy, you are deliberately tuning your receiver to the frequency of failure. You are instructing the great creative forces within you to build a life of lack and limitation. And that is precisely the harvest you will reap. Conversely, if you learn to stand as a sentinel at the gate of your mind, and you consciously choose to plant only the seeds of courage, faith, and abundance, if you broadcast thoughts of I can, I will, a way will be made, then you are aligning yourself with the constructive forces of the universe. You are handing your subconscious a new and magnificent blueprint, and it will begin, immediately, the work of constructing a life of power, prosperity, and purpose. This is not mysticism. This is the deepest and most practical law of your own being. You become what you think about. Your outer world is but a mirror, a perfect reflection of your inner world. If you do not like the reflection you see, breaking the mirror will do you no good. You must change the object being reflected. You must change your mind. Now, it is easy to hear these words and to nod in intellectual agreement. Yes, you might say, I understand. Positive thinking. But I am not here to speak of mere positive thinking. That is a shallow and often fragile practice. To simply overlay positive affirmations on a foundation of deep-seated fear is like painting a crumbling wall. It may look better for a time, but the underlying decay will inevitably break through. Our work is far more fundamental. We are not painters. We are architects and engineers. We must first understand the battlefield of the mind and identify the destructive forces that are, at this very moment, working to sabotage your success. There are three primary thieves of destiny that you must learn to recognize and to conquer. They are the insidious intruders who seek to usurp your throne and rule your inner kingdom. The first and most obvious thief is fear. Fear is a liar. It is a phantom that projects false evidence of a reality that does not exist. Fear's greatest weapon is the future. It lives in the land of what if. What if I fail? What if they reject me? What if I lose everything? It paralyzes you by making you suffer in your imagination for tragedies that have not and likely will not ever occur. Fear wants you to live in a small, safe, predictable cage, and it will rattle the bars with terrifying specters every time you dare to approach the door to your own expansion. The second thief is its close cousin, doubt. If fear is the loud brute that tries to intimidate you, doubt is the silent assassin. It does not shout, it whispers. It creeps into your mind in moments of quiet and poisons your ambition at the root. It is the voice that says, you're not smart enough. You don't have the experience. Others are better than you. Who are you to even try? Doubt erodes your belief in yourself. And if you cannot believe in your own step, you will never take the first one. It makes you question your worth, and when you question your worth, you will sabotage your own work. But the third thief is perhaps the most dangerous of all, because it is the most subtle. It is the great fog of indifference. Indifference is the slow surrender. It is the voice of comfort and complacency. It tells you, you can start tomorrow. It's not that important. Just relax. Don't work so hard. Indifference is the enemy of all greatness. It drains your purpose. It makes you a drifter. It convinces you to trade your magnificent destiny for a comfortable routine. Fear and doubt may slay their thousands, but indifference slays its tens of thousands. These three thieves, fear, doubt, and indifference, are the commanders of an army of negative thoughts that are constantly seeking entry into the fortress of your mind. And so, the first great discipline you must undertake is to become the sentinel at the gate. Imagine your mind as a fortified city. You, your conscious reasoning self, are the sentinel. Your post is at the main gate. Your orders from the king, your highest self, your definite purpose are explicit. Allow no enemy to enter. Every thought that approaches the gate must be challenged. When a thought of fear arrives, you, the sentinel, must step forward and demand, by what authority do you seek entry? Do you come to build or to destroy? Do you serve the king's purpose? And the thought of fear, when confronted by the light of conscious awareness, will shrink away, for it is a creature of shadow and cannot survive direct examination. When a thought of doubt whispers at the gate, you must challenge it with equal vigor. What are your credentials? Do you bring with you faith and courage, or hesitation and cowardice? You do not align with the blueprint of this city. You are denied entry, and when the seductive fog of indifference attempts to seep under the gate, you must be most vigilant of all, shouting, "There is no place for aimless drifting here. This is a city of purpose and action. Begone." This is not a one-time act. It is a constant, moment-by-moment practice. At first, it will be exhausting. The enemies will lay siege to your city relentlessly, for you have allowed them free entry for years. But with each thought you successfully challenge and turn away, your own power as the sentinel grows. Your will becomes stronger. The walls of your city become fortified. Eventually, the attacks will become less frequent, for the word will have gone out among the armies of negativity. That city is no longer an easy target. It is defended by a disciplined mind. This is the defensive posture. But defense alone does not win a war. You must also go on the offense. It is not enough to simply bar the gates to negative thoughts. You must actively cultivate and invite positive, constructive thoughts to enter and to make their home within your city. And this brings us to a fundamental law of the mind, the law of replacement. Your mind cannot hold two opposing thoughts at the same time. You cannot simultaneously feel courageous and fearful. You cannot be filled with both faith and doubt. One will inevitably crowd out the other. Nature abhors a vacuum. Therefore, the most effective way to eliminate a negative thought is not to struggle against it, but to replace it with a powerful, positive one. When the thought "I can't do this" appears, do not argue with it. Simply and calmly replace it with the thought, "I am learning how to do this. I will find a way." When the thought "I don't have enough money" arrives, immediately supplant it with the powerful question, "How can I create the money I require?" The first is a statement of finality that shuts down all creative faculties. The second is a question of possibility that immediately engages your mind in the search for solutions. This conscious act of replacement is the first tool of the mental architect. But a thought by itself is like a blueprint lying on a table. It is an intention, a plan, but it has no power to build. To give a thought power, you must connect it to the dynamo of your heart. You must charge it with emotion. A thought, charged with the powerful emotion of faith or desire, becomes an irresistible magnetic force. It becomes what I call a thought form, an energized pattern that not only directs your own actions, but also begins to attract the people, circumstances, and opportunities necessary for its physical realization. Think of two salesmen. Both have the same product. The first salesman has memorized all the facts. He can tell you the specifications, the features, the price. He presents the information clearly and logically. The second salesman knows the facts, but more importantly, he possesses an unshakable, burning belief in his product. He believes it will genuinely change the customer's life for the better. When he speaks, he is not merely conveying information. He is transferring emotion. He is broadcasting his own faith, his own enthusiasm. Which salesman do you believe will be more successful? The answer is obvious. The second salesman is not just selling a product. He is enrolling the customer in his own belief. Your relationship with your goals must be the same. You must take your highest thought, your definite chief aim, which we will discuss in our next chapter, and you must emotionalize it until it becomes the dominant, burning obsession of your life. You must feel it, see it, taste it, and believe in yourself already in possession of it. This is the act of charging your thoughts. This is what transforms a simple wish into a white-hot faith. And faith is the substance that removes mountains. This entire process of mastering the mind, of standing as a sentinel, of replacing negative thoughts, of emotionalizing your desires, is a discipline. And discipline is not born overnight. It is forged, like a fine steel blade, In the blacksmith's shop of daily practice, imagine your mind as a raw piece of iron. To transform it into a keen, unbreakable sword, the blacksmith must use three essential elements. First, there is the fire. The fire is the adversity of life. It is the challenges, the setbacks, the temporary defeats. Many people fear the fire. They run from it. But the master blacksmith knows that it is the intense heat of the fire that makes the iron malleable, that purifies it, that prepares it to be shaped. You must learn to see your challenges not as punishments, but as the very fire that is preparing your character for greatness. Second, there is the hammer. The hammer is the force of your own conscious will, applied through daily, rhythmic repetition. Every time you choose a positive thought over a negative one, you are striking the iron. Every time you read your goals aloud with feeling, you are striking the iron. Every time you take a small action in the face of fear, you are striking the iron. It is not one mighty blow that shapes the blade, but thousands of small, consistent, well-aimed strikes, day after day after day. This is the heart of discipline. And third, there is the cool water of patience. After the blade has been heated and hammered, it must be quenched. This gives it its strength and temper. Rushing the process, or applying the hammer without the fire, will only create a brittle, useless tool. You must understand that mental mastery is a lifelong process. You must bring a calm, patient, persistent intelligence to your work, knowing that the structure you are building is meant to last in eternity. Fire, hammer, and patience, adversity, repetition, and calm persistence. These are the tools with which you will forge the disciplined, powerful mind of an architect. You will shape your mind, or the world will mercilessly shape it for you. And so we come to the great conclusion of this first principle. The dominion of the mind is not a passive philosophy. It is the most active and creative work you will ever do. It is the recognition that your reality is born first in the unseen world of thought. You are a sculptor, and your life is your block of marble. The undisciplined mind sees only the rough, unformed stone of circumstance. It complains about the stone's hardness, its imperfections, its size. But the disciplined mind, the architect's mind, sees something else. It sees the angel already trapped within the marble, and it knows that its job is simply to chip away everything that is not the angel. Your thoughts are the chisel. Every choice you make, every thought you entertain is a strike of that chisel. You are either carving out a masterpiece of strength, purpose, and beauty, or you are haphazardly chipping away, creating a formless monument to indecision and regret. The choice is yours. In this moment, and in every moment that follows, claim your kingdom, seize your throne, stand as the sentinel at the gate, master the alchemy of your own mind. For until you do, you cannot take the next step. Until you have mastered your building material, you are not ready for the blueprint. Now that we have established this foundation, now that you understand the supreme power of your own controlled thought, you are ready. You are ready to learn how to draw that blueprint. You are ready for the cornerstone of all great achievement, your definite chief aim. In our last chapter, we undertook the most crucial first step in all of creation. We journeyed into the inner cosmos of the mind and declared our sovereignty. We came to understand that the thoughts we entertain are not idle phantoms, but the very building materials of our reality. We learned to stand as the sentinel at the gate, to master the divine alchemy of transmuting the lead of fear into the gold of faith. You have now, I trust, begun to inspect your primary building material, but even the finest marble, the strongest steel, and the most magnificent timber are useless without one indispensable tool, the blueprint. A master architect would never dream of beginning construction on a grand cathedral or a towering skyscraper by simply arriving at the site and instructing his workers to start building. Such an approach would result in nothing but a chaotic, unstable, and meaningless pile of rubble. And yet, this is precisely how the overwhelming majority of humanity approaches the construction of their own lives. They wander onto the construction site of their existence with no blueprint in hand. They hope for a beautiful structure. They wish for a strong foundation. They vaguely desire a magnificent outcome, but they have no definite plan. And so, their lives become a haphazard collection of rooms built from the opinions of others, hallways leading to nowhere, and foundations cracked by indecision. They are living in a structure they did not design, and they wonder why it brings them no peace. This blueprintless existence is the life of the drifter. A drifter may be a very busy person. He may be in constant motion, rushing from task to task, putting out fires, reacting to the demands of the day. But motion is not the same as progress. Busyness is not the same as building. A ship tossed in a storm is in violent motion, but it is not progressing toward a chosen harbor. It is merely adrift. Tonight, we put an end to drifting. Tonight, we seize the architect's pen. We will learn to draw the grand blueprint for your life. This blueprint, this master plan, is what I call a definite chief aim. Pause. Walk towards the desk and pick up a clean blank sheet of paper. This is the most critical principle in the entire science of personal achievement. It is the great continental divide of success and failure. On one side of this principle lie the 98 out of every 100 people who live lives of quiet desperation, never quite achieving the things they dream of. On the other side lie the 2%, the leaders, the innovators, the creators, the architects of their own fortunes, who accomplish more in a few years than the others do in a lifetime. The difference is not talent. It is not intelligence. It is definiteness of purpose. So, what is a definite chief aim? And what is it not? First, it is not a wish. A wish is a weak, passive thing. It is a thought form with no energy behind it. I wish I were wealthy. I hope to find success. These are the vague prayers of the drifter, sent out into the universe with no conviction, no demand, and no expectation of a specific reply. They are the equivalent of an architect scribbling, "I'd like a nice building here," on a napkin and hoping for the best. A definite chief aim is the polar opposite. It is a command. It is a declaration. It is a cold, hard, specific statement of intent. It is the architect's detailed blueprint, complete with precise measurements, material specifications, and a non-negotiable completion date. It does not say, "I hope." It declares, "I will." Second, it is not a vague desire. The subconscious mind, that great master builder we have spoken of, is a profoundly powerful but literal servant. It cannot and will not act upon vague instructions. The instruction, "I want to be happy," is meaningless to it. How is happiness measured? What does it look like? When should it arrive? The instruction, "I want more money," is equally useless. If you find a penny on the street tomorrow, your subconscious has technically fulfilled its order. No, the language of command must be the language of precision. A definite chief aim sounds like this. By the first day of January, 1930, I will have in my possession $1 million, which will come to me in various amounts from time to time during the interim. In return for this money, I will give the most efficient service of which I am capable, rendering the fullest possible quantity and the best possible quality of service as an industrial leader. Do you see the difference? The wish is a fog. The aim is a crystal. It is specific. It has a deadline. And most importantly, it addresses a fundamental law of the universe that the drifter perpetually ignores. The law of compensation. It specifies what will be given in return. The universe does not give something for nothing. It is a realm of exchange, of cause and effect, of sowing and reaping. A definite chief aim acknowledges this law and builds upon it. So, why is this principle so powerful? What are the mechanics at play when you crystallize your desire into a definite chief aim? There are three profound transformations that occur. The first transformation is psychological. When you define your purpose, you are programming the vast, silent supercomputer of your own brain. Deep within your mind is a filtering mechanism that decides what you pay attention to. In a single second, your senses are bombarded with millions of bits of information. You cannot possibly process it all. So, this internal filter allows in only what it deems important. For the drifter, this filter is set to random. It notices threats, fleeting pleasures, and distractions. But when you create a definite chief aim and impress it upon your mind through repetition, you recalibrate that filter. You are essentially telling your brain, this, and only this, is now the most important thing. Scan the entire universe for anything and everything that is relevant to its achievement. Suddenly, you will begin to see things you were blind to before. You will overhear a conversation in a coffee shop that provides the exact idea you needed. You will notice a book in a store that contains the key to solving your biggest problem. You will see an opportunity in the marketplace that everyone else has overlooked. The opportunities were always there, but now, your mind is tuned to perceive them. You have given your brain a target, and it becomes a relentless, heat-seeking missile for that target. The second transformation is metaphysical. Your definite chief aim, when charged with the fire of burning desire and the unshakable conviction of faith, becomes a powerful magnet. It becomes a thought form of a specific, coherent vibrational frequency. The law of attraction, which is not a mystical fantasy but a principle of universal physics, states that like energies attract like energies. When your dominant thought is one of confusion and aimlessness, you attract more chaotic and aimless circumstances into your life. But when you hold the clear, unwavering image of your definite chief aim in your mind, you become a living magnet for the harmonious components required for its fulfillment. The right people will seem to appear by chance. The necessary resources will become available out of the blue. You will experience what the drifter calls good luck. But it is not luck, it is law. You have made yourself magnetic to your own good. You have aligned your personal energy with the universal forces that create worlds. The third and perhaps most profound transformation is spiritual. A definite chief aim provides the answer to life's most crippling question. When adversity strikes, and it will strike, the drifter's first instinct is to cry out to the heavens, "Why me?" It is a question born of a victim's mindset. It assumes that life is a series of random, punitive events happening to you. This question disempowers. It leads to bitterness, resentment, and paralysis. But the architect, the person with a burning, definite chief aim, asks a profoundly different and infinitely more powerful question. When faced with the very same adversity, they look it squarely in the eye and ask, "For what purpose? For what purpose has this obstacle appeared in my path? For what lesson is this temporary defeat preparing me? For what future calling is this struggle strengthening my character?" Do you feel the power in that shift? Why me? Is the cry of a victim. For what purpose? Is the inquiry of a creator. A definite chief aim provides the context for all of life's struggles. It transforms pain into fuel. It transmutes suffering into strength. Every obstacle becomes not a barrier, but a bridge. Every setback becomes a sacred training ground, specifically designed to forge within you the very qualities you will need to achieve your great purpose. Let us return to the parable of the man digging a tunnel with his bare hands. He works in suffocating darkness. The rock is hard, the air is thin. His hands bleed, his muscles ache, his spirit grows weary. If he is digging without purpose, if he has no idea what lies on the other side, then his labor is a form of torture. It is meaningless suffering, and it will inevitably crush him. This is the life of the drifter, working hard at things that lead nowhere, enduring pain without a purpose. But now, imagine that this man has a definite chief aim. He knows with absolute certainty that just a few feet ahead lies the light. He can already feel the warmth of the sun, hear the sounds of a vibrant world, and imagine the freedom that awaits. That knowledge, that definite purpose, changes everything. The pain in his hands is no longer just pain. It is the price of freedom. The aching in his back is no longer just suffering. It is the sacrifice for his vision. The darkness is no longer terrifying. It is merely the temporary passage to the light. It is not the hardship that breaks a man. It is the meaninglessness of the hardship. Your definite chief aim infuses every moment of your life, especially the difficult ones, with profound and empowering meaning. So now, you must ask, how do I forge this cornerstone for myself? How do I move from this understanding to the practical application that will revolutionize my life? The process is simple in its description, yet it demands the utmost sincerity and discipline in its execution. There are 4 steps you must take, not next week, not tomorrow, but tonight. First, take a clean sheet of paper. On it, you will write a clear, concise statement of your definite chief aim. Be precise. If it is money, state the exact amount. If it is a position, describe it in vivid detail. Do not be timid. This is a command to the universe and to your own deeper mind. A weak and timid command receives a weak and timid response. Be bold. Second, directly beneath that statement, you will write what you intend to give in return for the attainment of your aim. This is the step that 99% of people skip. They want the harvest without sowing the seed. What will you give? Will you give more efficient service in your current role? Will you give your time to study and become an expert in your field? Will you give your focus to creating a new product or service that benefits humanity? Be specific about your payment. Third, you must establish a definite date by which you intend to be in possession of that which you desire. This is the act of putting a deadline on your dream. A goal without a deadline is merely a wish. A deadline creates a healthy sense of urgency. It forces your subconscious mind to work on a schedule. It transforms someday into a tangible point on the calendar. Fourth, and finally, you will write out a definite plan for carrying out your desire. and you will begin at once, whether you feel ready or not, to put this plan into action. This is the crucial step of grounding your vision in reality. An idea without action is a delusion. Your plan may not be perfect. That does not matter. The act of starting, of taking the first immediate step, is a signal of faith. It tells the universe that you are serious. You can and you will correct your course along the way, but you must begin now. Once you have this written statement, your aim, your payment, your date, and your plan, your work has only just begun. This piece of paper is the lifeless blueprint. You must now animate it. You must breathe the fire of life into it. This is done through the principle of autosuggestion. You will read your written statement aloud twice daily, once immediately upon rising in the morning, and once just before retiring at night. As you read, you must do more than just speak the words. You must close your eyes and see, and feel, and believe yourself already in possession of your goal. You must see the bank statement with the exact amount of money you desire. You must feel the handshake of the person congratulating you on your new position. You must experience, in your imagination, the emotions of gratitude and joy that will be yours when your purpose is realized. You must act as if you already are the person you are striving to become. This daily ritual is the most important 10 minutes of your day. It is the act of deliberately planting your definite chief aim into the fertile soil of your subconscious mind. It is the process of charging your blueprint with the emotional energy that will magnetize its physical counterpart to you. Do not neglect this. Do not treat it as a trivial task. This is the work. This is how you close the gap between the person you are and the person you are destined to become. So I ask you, as we conclude this chapter, what are you digging toward? What is the light at the end of your tunnel? For too long, you may have been laboring in the dark, suffering hardships without the redeeming power of a great and noble purpose. That ends tonight. The drifter allows his life to be defined by his conditions. The architect defines his life by his decisions. The single most important decision you will ever make is the selection of your definite chief aim. It is the act of giving your life a rudder. It is the moment you stop asking for permission to succeed and instead give yourself the command. Your life is a magnificent, unbuilt cathedral. For too long, the blueprints have been missing. Go now, find a quiet place, take up your pen, and draw. In our preceding chapters, we have embarked upon the two foundational acts of creation. First, we journeyed into the silent kingdom of the mind, claimed our sovereign power, and learned to stand as the sentinel at the gate, commanding the very thoughts that shape our existence. Second, with that inner dominion established, we seized the architect's pen and drew the grand blueprint for our life, a definite chief aim, clear as crystal, and charged with the fire of our unwavering desire. You now possess the building material, which is controlled thought, and you now possess the blueprint, which is your definite aim. An individual armed with these two principles alone is already a force of nature, a person apart from the drifting masses. They have separated themselves from the 98%, who live lives of quiet chance. But the architect who wishes to build not a humble cottage, but a cathedral that scrapes the heavens, understands a profound truth. No great work is ever the product of a single hand or a single mind. Our modern world is built upon a dangerous and seductive myth. It is the myth of the lone genius, the solitary hero, the rugged individual who bends the world to his will through sheer personal force. We are taught to admire the self-made man, as if any person could ever truly be self-made. It is a fallacy. It is an illusion that breeds arrogance in the successful and despair in the struggling. Let me state a law as immutable as the law of gravity. No man or woman has ever achieved great success in any calling without the active cooperation of other people. To believe otherwise is to blind yourself to the very force that makes monumental achievement possible. The chess master, for all his individual brilliance, commands an army of pieces, each with its unique power and movement, working in concert to achieve a single objective. To play with only the king is to guarantee defeat. So it is in the great game of life. Your individual will, your definite chief aim, is your king. It is the most important piece on the board. But to win the game, you must learn to command the full power of the board. This brings us to the great driving force behind all major human achievement. It is the principle that amplifies individual power into societal power. It is the secret of every great industrialist, every visionary leader, and every spiritual teacher in history. It is the principle of the mastermind alliance. Let me define it for you, and I ask that you allow these words to sink deep into your consciousness, for within them lies a key to almost limitless power. A mastermind is, the coordination of knowledge and effort in a spirit of absolute harmony between two or more people for the attainment of a definite purpose. Let us dismantle this definition and examine its components. For like a finely crafted engine, every part is essential. First, the coordination of knowledge and effort. This is not a social club. This is not a gathering of friends for casual conversation. This is a strategic alliance. It is a deliberate and conscious pooling of the collective experience, training, influence, and specialized knowledge of its members. One member may be an expert in finance, another in marketing, a third in engineering, a fourth in law. Alone, each is a specialist with a limited view. But when their knowledge and effort are coordinated and focused on a single, definite aim, they create a reservoir of power that no single individual could ever hope to possess. The alliance becomes a composite brain, capable of seeing a problem from every angle simultaneously. Second, for the attainment of a definite purpose. This is the cord that binds the alliance together and gives it direction. A mastermind must be organized around the definite chief aim we forged in our last chapter. Without this singular focus, the group's energy becomes diffuse and powerless. It is the burning glass that focuses the scattered rays of the sun into a single, white-hot point capable of starting a fire. Your definite chief aim is that focal point. All conversation, all planning, all action within the alliance must be directed toward its attainment. But it is the third component of our definition that is the most critical, the most frequently overlooked, and the most potent. It is the very soul of the alliance, in a spirit of absolute harmony. 7. Harmony is not mere agreement. It is not the absence of dissent. It is a deep, resonant alignment of spirit and purpose. It is a state where the individual egos of the members are subordinated to the greater purpose of the group. Within a true mastermind, there can be no room for envy, for jealousy, for criticism, or for selfish ambition. Where even one of these destructive emotions enters, the spirit of harmony is broken and the power of the alliance is neutralized. Think of a great symphony orchestra. You may have 100 brilliant musicians on stage, each a virtuoso in their own right. But if the violinist is competing with the cellist and the percussionist is trying to drown out the brass section, the result is not music. It is a cacophony. It is a painful, meaningless noise. It is only when all 100 musicians submit their individual talents to the conductor's baton and the composer's score, playing in perfect time, rhythm, and harmony, that they create a transcendent experience that no single instrument could ever produce. So it is with the mastermind. Absolute harmony is the conductor's baton. Your definite chief aim is the musical score. When these elements are present, the alliance ceases to be a mere group of individuals and becomes something more. And this brings us to the metaphysical heart of this principle. This is a truth that may stretch your understanding, but I assure you, it is as real as the floor beneath your feet. When two or more minds are blended in a spirit of perfect, absolute harmony, a profound alchemical reaction takes place. The individual minds create a third, invisible, intangible mind, a third mind, which constitutes the spiritual force of the alliance. This third mind is a distinct entity. It possesses the knowledge and experience of all its constituent members, but it is greater than the sum of its parts. This is not a metaphor. It is a psychic and spiritual reality. Just as the combination of 2 parts hydrogen and 1 part oxygen, both invisible gases, creates water, a tangible liquid with properties possessed by neither of its components, the harmonious blending of minds creates a new entity with faculties unavailable to any single member. This third mind acts as a conduit. It becomes the connecting link between the finite minds of the group and the infinite intelligence of the universe. It is through this channel that what we call inspiration, creative genius, and flashes of insight flow. Have you ever been in a conversation with someone where, together, you arrive at an idea that neither of you could have conceived of alone? You were, in that moment, tapping into the creative power of a rudimentary mastermind. When your alliance meets and discusses your definite chief aim in a spirit of perfect harmony, you are opening this channel. The solution to a problem that has plagued you for months may suddenly appear in your mind, clear as day. A plan of action far more brilliant than any you could have devised on your own will begin to take shape. This third mind will guide you. It will protect you from unseen dangers and reveal unseen opportunities. It is your silent partner, your invisible counselor, your direct line to the universal storehouse of all knowledge. This is the secret power of the great industrialists. Mr. Carnegie proclaimed that he knew little about the technical business of making steel, but he knew how to select, organize, and direct the men who did. His mastermind alliance consisted of 50 specialists. He paid them fortunes, but they made him a far greater one, because he understood how to harmonize their minds and focus them on his definite chief aim. He was not coordinating 50 men. He was directing the power of the third mind that their harmony created. This is the power that is available to you, but you must approach it with reverence and understanding. You do not simply acquire allies. You must build an alliance. So, how do you construct this engine of power? How do you select your members and maintain the delicate and essential spirit of harmony? First, the selection of your members. This is a task that must be undertaken with the utmost care and deliberation. You are choosing the minds that will blend with your own. Choose allies who possess knowledge, experience, or influence that you lack. But more importantly than their skills, you must judge their character. Look for men and women of unwavering loyalty, of impeccable integrity, and who possess a fundamentally positive mental attitude. A single, negative, critical, or cynical mind introduced into your group will act as a poison, destroying the harmony and rendering the alliance useless. Do not choose allies who flatter you. Choose allies who refine you. Do not choose those who will merely agree with you. Choose those who will see your vision and dedicate their own creative energy to its expansion. The ideal size for a new mastermind group is between 2 and 5 members, including yourself. This allows for a diversity of thought while maintaining the intimacy required for true harmony. Second, you must understand the law of compensation. A mastermind alliance cannot function on a parasitic basis. You cannot hope to join with others merely to take from their knowledge and influence. You must be prepared to give as much, or more, than you receive. Before you approach any potential member, you must first ask yourself, what value can I bring to this person and to the group? What knowledge, what effort, what spirit of cooperation can I contribute? You must enter the alliance as a benefactor, not a beggar. Third, you must establish the rhythm and rules of engagement. Your alliance must meet regularly, at least once or twice a week, at a set time. These meetings must have a clear agenda, always centered around the definite chief aim. There must be a strict code of conduct. All discussions are to be held in the strictest confidence. All criticism must be constructive and delivered without personal animus. The meeting is a sacred space, a council of war for the attainment of your great purpose, and it must be treated as such. Now, as you consider building this alliance of power, you must also become keenly aware of its negative counterpart, which may already be operating in your life without your consent. For this law works on both the positive and negative planes. If you surround yourself with people who complain, who make excuses, who are steeped in fear and doubt, you have unwittingly formed a negative mastermind. This group also creates a third mind, but it is a malevolent entity. It is a psychic vortex that amplifies doubt, magnetizes misfortune, and reinforces the belief in limitation. It will drain your energy, dull your ambition, and slowly, imperceptibly, shrink your dreams to fit its own pathetic standards. Therefore, I give you this charge, and it may be the most difficult you have yet received. You must conduct an immediate and ruthless audit of your closest associations. Show me your closest companions, and I will show you your future. This is not a platitude. It is a scientific statement of fact. Who are the people you confide in? Who is in your inner circle? Are they feeding your faith or are they feeding your fears? Are they challenging you to rise or are they comforting you in your complacency? If you are the most ambitious, the most disciplined, the most visionary person in your group, then you are in the wrong group. You are not meant to be the leader of the stagnant. You are meant to be the student of giants. This may require you to make difficult choices. It may require you to lovingly distance yourself from friends or even family members who, through their negativity, are unconsciously sabotaging your destiny. This is not an act of arrogance. It is an act of profound self-preservation. It is the architect's refusal to allow faulty materials to be used in the construction of his cathedral. The lone wolf may survive, but survival is not our goal. The thriving human, the architect of a great life, thrives in a pack of purpose, in a tribe of transformation, in a circle that reflects not just where they are, but where they are going. You have mastered your mind. You have defined your purpose. You are now ready to multiply your power. Your definite chief aim is the king. Your mastermind alliance is your queen, your rooks, your bishops, your knights. With them, you are no longer playing a game of survival. You are playing a game of dominance. Your next assignment is clear. Begin tonight. Take out a sheet of paper. Write down the names of every person with whom you spend a significant amount of time. Then, next to each name, honestly and ruthlessly assess whether they are a positive or a negative influence on your definite chief aim. Then, on a new sheet of paper, begin to list the potential members of your new mastermind. Who do you know who possesses the character, the knowledge, and the positive spirit to blend with your own? Do not limit yourself. Think boldly. The act of creating your alliance is the act of stepping out of isolation and into cooperative power. It is the moment you cease to be a solitary builder and become the chief architect of a team of masters. This is the driving force. This is the engine that will propel you toward your goal with a speed and certainty that will astound you. Do not neglect it. Do not delay it. Your cathedral is waiting to be built, and you will not build it alone. We have now laid the great foundation and erected the first two pillars of our structure. You have claimed dominion over your mind. You have forged the cornerstone of a definite chief aim, and you now understand the multiplying force of the Mastermind Alliance. These principles alone, if applied with sincerity, are enough to separate you from the masses and place you on the path of the creators. But this is not merely a video. It is a curriculum for the architecture of a new life. And our work is not yet half done. Ahead of us lies the forge of character, the secrets of enduring discipline, and the crowning achievement of a life of legacy. If you are committed to this journey not as a passive observer, but as an active architect, then I invite you to make that commitment official. Subscribe to this channel now. Let this act be more than a click. Let it be a declaration that you have joined a fellowship of architects, a global mastermind of individuals dedicated to building lives of power and purpose. Commit to this study, and I promise you, the blueprints for your grandest life will continue to be revealed. Now, let us enter the forge. We have journeyed far. We have claimed the sovereign kingdom of the mind. We have drawn the immaculate blueprint of a definite chief aim. We have assembled the multiplying power of a mastermind alliance. We have, in essence, completed the design phase of a magnificent life. The plans are laid out on the table, perfect and promising. But a blueprint, no matter how brilliant, has never sheltered a family from a storm. A design, no matter how inspired, has never carried a soul to a higher plane of existence. The world is filled with beautiful blueprints, gathering dust in the archives of regret. Now, we must leave the architect's study and enter the forge. For it is here, in the fire, and the noise, and the seeming violence of creation, that character is hammered into shape. It is here that the elegant lines of the blueprint are tested against the stubborn resistance of raw material. This chapter is not about what you will think or what you will plan. It is about what you will endure and what you will do. For it is here, in the forge of character, that we separate the dreamer from the creator. Our work in this forge is twofold. First, we must learn the true nature of the fire itself, the force that the world calls failure. We must redefine it, understand its sacred purpose, and learn to welcome its heat. Second, we must build the internal muscle, the spiritual sinew required to withstand that heat and to use it to our advantage. That muscle is called resilience. And finally, with our understanding transformed and our character fortified, we must learn to wield the hammer. That hammer is called action. Let us begin by approaching the fire. For most of humanity, the single greatest obstacle to achievement is not a lack of talent or a lack of opportunity. It is the paralyzing fear of failure. From our earliest days, we are taught that failure is a verdict. It is a red mark in a grade book, a final judgment on our ability, a source of shame and ridicule. We are conditioned to see failure as the enemy, as a dead end, as proof that we should have never tried in the first place. This belief is the most destructive lie ever perpetrated upon the human spirit. Failure is not the enemy of success. It is its most essential ingredient. It is the raw ore from which all wisdom is smelted. It is the grinding stone that sharpens the blade of your intellect. The moments when life knocks you to your knees are not sent to break you. They are sent to reveal you. They are a test, not of your resources, but of your resolve. You do not truly know the strength of your own spine until the weight of the world is placed upon it. So, let us discard the old definition. Let us establish a new one. Failure is not a wall. It is a mirror. It does not stop you. It shows you. When a business venture collapses, the event is not a judgment of your worth. It is a mirror reflecting the flaws in your plan. When a negotiation falls apart, it is a mirror reflecting the weaknesses in your communication. When you give in to a destructive habit, it is a mirror reflecting the part of your character that has not yet been brought under the dominion of your will. The undisciplined mind looks at this reflection and sees only ugliness and defeat. It feels shame. It shatters the mirror and runs from the image. The architect's mind does the opposite. It steps closer. It studies the reflection with a cold, analytical eye. It says, ah, there it is. The flaw in the foundation, the weakness in the beam, the part of me that is not yet aligned with my definite aim. It then thanks the mirror for its brutal, unflinching honesty. For this feedback is more valuable than 1,000 compliments. The sting of failure is the sting of truth, and that sting is sacred, for within it lies the invitation to grow. Your reaction to this reflection defines you far more than your victories ever will. Anyone can smile in the sunshine of success. Anyone can accept applause with grace. But the proving ground of character is found in the lonely dust of disappointment. Who are you when the plans have turned to ash? Who are you when the money is gone? Who are you when the ones who cheered for you have fallen silent? Who are you, alone in the forge, with the broken pieces of your latest attempt at your feet? It is in this moment that you face the fundamental choice of all creation. Will you retreat or will you rebuild? The choice to retreat is the path of the majority. It is the decision to believe the verdict of the temporary setback. It is to conclude, I am not good enough. It wasn't meant to be. This choice leads to a life of ever-shrinking horizons, a soul encrusted with the bitter plaque of cynicism and regret. The choice to rebuild is the path of the architect. It is the conscious decision to see the broken pieces not as an ending, but as an education. This is the seed of resilience. And this brings us to the second phase of our work, the cultivation of resilience. Resilience is perhaps the most misunderstood of all human virtues. We imagine it as a single heroic moment of strength, the boxer rising from the canvas for one last round, the soldier charging into the breach. These are dramatic displays, yes, but they are not the essence of resilience. They are the fruit, not the root. True resilience is not a moment of strength. It is a daily decision. It is a quiet, unglamorous, and often invisible habit of the soul. Resilience is forged not in the moments of thunderous applause, but in the deafening silence when no one is watching, when no one claps, when only you know what it costs to rise one more time. It is the writer who, after receiving a dozen rejection letters, sits down at their desk at dawn and writes the first sentence of a new chapter. It is the entrepreneur who, after their first company fails, takes out a clean sheet of paper and begins to sketch the business model for the next one. It is the parent who, after losing their temper with their child, comes back 10 minutes later to apologize and reconnect, refusing to let a moment of failure define a relationship of love. Resilience is not the absence of pain. It is the refusal to be defined by it. It is not the absence of falls. It is the mastery of rising. Picture a master craftsman, a sculptor who has spent months carving a magnificent statue from a block of marble. The work is nearly complete, and then, with one misplaced strike of the chisel, a critical piece fractures and breaks away. The masterpiece is shattered. Months of labor, wasted in an instant. What does the undisciplined mind do? It curses the marble. It blames the tools. It throws the chisel across the room and abandons the workshop, declaring, I have failed. What does the resilient mind, the craftsman's mind, do? It stops. It breathes. It allows the sharp pang of disappointment to pass. It may grieve for the lost work. But then, it does something miraculous. It kneels down. It picks up the broken piece, and it begins to study it. It looks not at what was lost, but at what can be learned. The grain of the stone was different here. My strike was too forceful. My attention wavered. And then, with the quiet dignity of a creator, he sets aside the shattered work, selects a new block of marble, and begins again, not from the beginning. He is not starting over. He is starting wiser. He is starting with the invaluable knowledge forged in the fire of his own mistake. He is not broken. He is built. Built by the fall he endured. Built by the tear he wiped. Built by the failure he refused to surrender to. This is the very heart of resilience. It is the understanding that you are not diminished by your setbacks. You are refined by them. Every time you rise from a defeat, you are not the same person who fell. You are stronger. You are sharper. You have a deeper understanding of yourself and the laws of your work. The strength does not come before the battle. It is forged in the fire. You may ask, but how many times must I rise? How many hits can one person take? The answer is simple, as many as it takes. You rise until you are no longer surprised that you can. You rise until the habit of getting back up is more deeply ingrained than the instinct to stay down. You rise until the world understands that you are not a person who can be kept down. And so we arrive at the final and most vital stage of our work in the forge. We have redefined the fire of failure. We have cultivated the muscle of resilience. But a resilient spirit and a wise mind are still not enough. To shape the iron, you must lift and swing the hammer. You must engage in action. Fear, as we have discussed, is a phantom. It is a liar, but it has an accomplice. Its accomplice is hesitation. Fear can only maintain its power over you as long as you remain still. The longer you sit with your fear, the longer you analyze it, the longer you negotiate with it, the louder and more monstrous it becomes. It grows in the shadows of delay. It feeds on the gap between knowing and doing. You cannot outthink fear. You cannot reason it into submission. You can only render it powerless through one and only one method: action. Action is the great cure for fear. It is the solvent for doubt. The moment you move, the moment you take one single physical step toward your goal, the entire dynamic shifts. Fear is a creature of the mind, a ghost in the machine. Action is a force of the physical world. And in a contest between a phantom and a physical force, the physical force will win every single time. You may say, but I am not ready. I need more information. I need a better plan. I need to feel confident first. From the science, let me tell you a truth that will liberate you. Readiness is a myth. It is a fantasy sold to the timid to justify their inaction. No one ever feels fully ready to launch the business, to have the difficult conversation, to ask for the promotion, to commit to the great work. The brave souls you admire did not begin with certainty. They began with a shaky step in the presence of their own fear. Confidence is not a prerequisite for action. It is a result of it. You do not wait to feel confident to begin. You begin, and in the act of beginning, in the motion, in the doing, you create confidence. It is a byproduct of your own courage. Picture a person standing at the base of a great sheer rock wall. It looms over them, a cold, towering monument to everything they believe they cannot do. The wall mocks them. It whispers a list of all their past failures. It reminds them of how far they have to fall. And so they stand there, paralyzed by analysis, frozen by fear. But then, the person makes a decision. They decide to stop listening to the wall. They take a deep breath, reach up, and find one small handhold. It feels insecure. They lift their foot and find one tiny crack to serve as a foothold. It feels unstable, but they put their weight on it. They pull, and they lift themselves 1 inch off the ground. In that moment, something profound happens. The wall does not shrink, but the climber grows. With each subsequent handhold, with each new foothold earned through struggle, the balance of power shifts. The climber becomes bigger, and the fear becomes smaller. Why? Because action is making them bigger than their fear. Action is proving to their own nervous system that they are capable. They are not waiting for the feeling of fearlessness to climb. They are climbing, and in the climbing, they are becoming fearless. What is the great wall in your life right now? What is the thing you know you must do but have been hesitating on? Is it a decision? A conversation? A project? That hesitation is the territory where fear lives and grows. But you can starve it to death, right now, with one bold step. Write the first line of the book. Make the one phone call you have been avoiding. Sketch the initial design on a napkin. Take a walk to clear your mind and make the decision. Let your body lead your belief. Let your motions silence your mind's chatter. In the great war between fear and your future, motion is your sword. It cuts through the fog of doubt. It slices through the paralysis of hesitation. And the best part is that this sword is always within your reach. Every single day, you are presented with 1,000 opportunities to either reinforce your fear through inaction or to diminish it through action. Choose action. Always choose action. So, as we prepare to leave the forge, let us summarize the work we have done here. We have faced the fire of failure and understood its true purpose, not to destroy, but to instruct and to refine. We have learned that every setback is a mirror, offering us a priceless education if we have the courage to look. We have cultivated the muscle of resilience, understanding that it is not a heroic act, but a quiet, daily decision to rebuild, to start wiser, to refuse to let any temporary defeat become a permanent verdict. And we have picked up the hammer of action, knowing it is the only true antidote to fear and the only way to transform the blueprint of our dreams into the living, breathing reality of our lives. The world does not need more perfection. It does not need more people who wait until they are flawless to begin. The world needs more scarred, resilient, and courageous builders. It needs people who know how to lose and still lead, who know how to grieve and still build, who know how to fear and still move. Every morning you choose to rise again from the ashes of yesterday's defeats. You are writing a story worth reading. And that story is not about what stopped you. It is about what you refuse to allow to keep you down. The forge is now open. The fire is hot. The anvil is waiting. Your character is the iron. Pick up the hammer. It is time to get to work. We have journeyed together through the crucible. We have stood in the forge of character, redefined our relationship with the fire of failure, and learned to wield the hammer of decisive action. The resilient mind, the architect's spirit, has been tempered and shaped. You have emerged from that fire not weakened, but refined, not broken, but built. You now possess a power that few ever know. But power, like a great fire, must be tended. A magnificent structure, once erected, is immediately subject to the forces of entropy and decay. The wind and the rain begin their patient assault. The very foundation is tested by the slow, inexorable pull of gravity. A creation, no matter how glorious, is not complete when it is built. It is only complete when a system is in place to sustain it. Many an aspiring architect has completed a great work, only to watch it crumble into ruin over time through simple, tragic neglect. They mistake the intensity of the initial creation for the entirety of the work. But the laws of the universe are clear. That which is not consciously maintained is inevitably reclaimed by chaos. This brings us to the final stage of our inner construction before we consider its ultimate purpose. We must now install the two great sustaining forces that will preserve your creation, protect it from the erosion of complacency, and ensure that it grows stronger, not weaker, with the passing of the years. These forces are the twin pillars of a life well lived. They are the quiet, unassuming guardians of all long-term success. They are the engine and the fuel of a purpose-driven life. They are the forces of discipline and gratitude. Let us first examine the great, silent engine of all forward momentum. Discipline. We live in an age that worships at the altar of motivation. We chase the feeling of inspiration. We wait for the lightning bolt of a sudden urge to strike us before we begin our great work. We believe that passion is the only fuel worth having. But motivation is a fickle and unreliable master. It is a fleeting emotion, a spark that flashes brightly and then dies, leaving you in darkness once more. It is the wind that fills your sails one day and leaves you becalmed and adrift the next. To build your life on the foundation of motivation is to build your house upon the shifting sands. Discipline is a force of a different nature entirely. Discipline is not a feeling, it is a choice. It is not a spark, it is the steady, well-tended flame that you control. It does not arrive with a trumpet's call. It is cultivated in the quiet moments of decision, when no one is watching. We have been taught to view discipline as a form of punishment, as a harsh restriction on our freedom. This is a profound misunderstanding. True discipline is not a cage. It is the very framework that allows for true freedom. It is not an act of self-denial. It is the highest act of self-love. For discipline is nothing less than a promise you make to your future self. Every time you choose the harder right over the easier wrong, you are sending a message of respect and commitment to the person you are becoming. But there is a silent enemy to discipline. It is a slow, creeping thief that steals more dreams than fear ever could. This thief is neglect. Neglect is a quiet poison. It does not announce its arrival with a crash of thunder. It whispers. It comes to you in the guise of reason and self-care. It says you're tired. Just skip today. You've been working so hard. You deserve a break. It promises you will get back to your work tomorrow, but tomorrow becomes next week. Next week becomes someday, and someday becomes never. Think of this bonsai tree. Its beauty is not the result of one great act of creation. It is the product of 1,000 small, almost invisible acts of daily discipline. It must be watered, not just when the gardener feels motivated, but when the soil is dry. It must be pruned, not just when it is overgrown, but consistently, to guide its growth. It must be turned to the light. If I were to neglect watering this tree for one day, would you notice a difference? No. For a week? Perhaps not. But what if I were to stop for a month? The leaves would wither. The branches would become brittle. The weeds of chaos would win. They always do when left untended. Your dreams, your skills, your health, your relationships, they are all gardens. They require this same patient, consistent care. Neglect is not neutral. It does not pause your progress. It actively rewrites your future, one ignored task at a time. The path back to your purpose becomes overgrown, and the distance between the person you are and the person you are becoming begins to feel unbearable. This is the quiet devastation of neglect. The antidote to this slow thief is the compounding power of consistency. Greatness is not the result of massive, sporadic explosions of effort. It is built slowly, rhythmically, quietly. It is the stonecutter who taps at his rock 100 times, perhaps without so much as a crack showing. Yet, at the 101st blow, it will split in two, and he knows it was not that last blow that did it, but all that had gone before. Progress often whispers. In a world that glorifies the viral moment and the overnight success, we are trained to expect fireworks. We think a breakthrough must be loud and dramatic. But real progress, the kind that lasts, is often boring to the impatient and miraculous to the disciplined. It is the musician practicing scales in an empty room. It is the student reading one more chapter when their eyes are heavy. It is the choice to show up, especially when you do not feel like it. These small, unseen victories are what make greatness inevitable. Each day you choose not to quit. You place another solid brick in the foundation of your character. Each act of effort, each repetition, each moment of persistence is forming the bridge to your future. There is no neutral ground. With every decision, that bridge is either being reinforced or it is being dismantled. Therefore, you must protect your habits as a farmer protects his seeds. You must guard your routines as a watchman guards the city gates. The cost of discipline today is paid in the currency of discomfort, but the cost of neglect is paid in the currency of lifelong regret. And the price of regret is always, always higher. So as we leave this meditation on discipline, let us now turn to its essential partner. For discipline is the engine, but an engine without fuel will soon grind to a halt. The fuel that sustains all great and noble effort, the force that protects the heart from growing hard and bitter through the struggle, is the profound power of gratitude. Just as we have redefined discipline, so too must we redefine gratitude. We have been taught to think of gratitude as a soft, passive virtue, a pleasant feeling that we experience after we have received something good. It is seen as the end result, the sweet dessert after a satisfying meal. This understanding is tragically incomplete. Gratitude is not a soft sentiment. It is a force. It is a discipline of perspective. In the war against despair and bitterness, gratitude is your most strategic and devastating weapon. Here is a fundamental law of the mind. You cannot be both bitter and blessed in the same moment. You cannot be both resentful and thankful simultaneously. One emotion will always crowd out the other. Bitterness clenches the fist, closes the heart, and narrows the vision to see only what is missing. Gratitude opens the hand, expands the heart, and trains the vision to see the abundance that is already present. Bitterness builds walls of isolation. Gratitude builds bridges of connection. The undisciplined mind believes that gratitude begins when the storm ends. The architect's mind knows that gratitude must begin inside the storm. It is not a reward for a perfect life. It is the tool you use to build a powerful one, especially when life is imperfect. The ultimate test of your character is not whether you can be thankful when your cup is overflowing. It is whether you can find a reason for thanks when your cup feels empty. Can you find the gift in the grit? Can you find the lesson in the loss? Can you, in the midst of any adversity, find what I call the seed of an equivalent benefit? Let us be practical. Imagine you lose your job. The routine is gone. The paycheck has vanished. The mind of scarcity sees only loss. It descends into fear and resentment. The mind disciplined in gratitude, however, begins to search for the seed. In the sudden, unwelcome stillness, it finds the gift of time. Time to reconsider your path. Time to question what you were truly chasing. You begin to see not just what was taken, but what new future could be built upon this cleared ground. Or a relationship ends. The silence feels suffocating. The scarcity mind is consumed by loneliness and heartbreak. The gratitude mind searches for the seed. In the quiet, it begins to hear its own voice again. It reconnects with the version of you that had been buried beneath compromise. It finds the blessing of renewed self-sovereignty. Gratitude is not found. It is forged. It is hammered out in the fire of disappointment, in the heat of heartbreak, in the ache of unmet expectations. It is a choice you make, again and again, to deliberately shift your focus from what has been taken to what remains. What are you ignoring that you could be appreciating? Is it the simple, miraculous fact of your own breath? Is it your ability to think, to reason, to choose? Is it the fact that you are still here, still in the game, able to try again tomorrow? Gratitude begins with the ordinary, the overlooked, the assumed. When you begin each day not with a complaint about what you lack, but with a deliberate accounting of what you have, you change your entire mental and emotional chemistry. You shift your perspective from the crippling mindset of scarcity to the empowering mindset of abundance. You are no longer a victim of what you don't have. You become a powerful creator with the resources you do have. The person who masters this practice becomes invincible. Because while pain may be inevitable, despair is always a choice. While circumstances can shake you, they cannot shatter a spirit that is grounded in the bedrock of gratitude. And so, we see how these two great sustaining forces are not separate, but are inextricably intertwined. They work in perfect harmony. Discipline is the engine that drives you forward through the storm. It is the masculine, active force that says, I will keep going no matter what. The seven dated, gratitude is the high-quality fuel that keeps the engine running clean. It is the feminine, receptive force that says, I will find the blessing in this, no matter what. A life of discipline without gratitude becomes hard, brittle, and joyless. It is the path of the stoic who endures, but never thrives. A life of gratitude without discipline becomes soft, passive, and directionless. It is the path of the dreamer who is thankful for what they have, but never builds what they could be. But when you combine them, when you unite the unwavering commitment of discipline with the expansive perspective of gratitude, you create an unstoppable force. Discipline builds the structure of your life. Gratitude makes that structure a beautiful and sacred home. Discipline is how you earn your success. Gratitude is how you enjoy it. These are the guardians of your architecture. They are not glamorous. They do not shout for attention. They are the quiet, daily practices that separate a life of fleeting success from a life of enduring greatness. So, I charge you with this. As you prepare to complete your great work, renew your vow to what matters. Do not chase intensity, chase consistency. Be the one who returns to the work, who refuses to let the weeds win. And as you do your disciplined work, do it with a heart that is open. Start and end each day by speaking thanks into the silence. For the reward of discipline is not just the achievement, it is the strength of character you become. And the reward of gratitude is not just happiness. It is the profound peace that comes from knowing that, no matter the circumstance, you possess the power to choose your focus, and therefore, to choose your world. Sustain your creation with these two hands, one of work and one of wonder. With them, the structure you build will not only touch the sky, it will be unshakable. We have come to the end of our journey of construction. Together, we have laid a foundation upon the bedrock of a dominioned mind. We have erected the great pillars of a definite chief aim and a mastermind alliance. We have fortified our structure in the forge of character, tempering it with resilience and the hammer of action. And we have installed the great sustaining forces of discipline and gratitude to ensure that our creation will endure. The architecture is complete. The structure stands, strong and magnificent, a testament to your will, your focus, and your courage. It is a fortress against the storms of life, a temple to your highest self. And so, we must now ask the final, and most important, question of all. It is the question that every great architect must face when the last stone has been laid and the tools have been put away. It is the question that elevates a mere structure into a landmark. The question is this: for what purpose does it stand? A building without a purpose is a hollow shell. A life, no matter how successful in its acquisitions, is empty if it is lived for itself alone. The final act of the architect is to dedicate their creation to a purpose greater than themselves. It is to place the capstone on the pyramid, the crowning achievement that gives meaning to all the labor that came before. This crowning achievement is legacy. Now, when I speak this word, legacy, I ask you to set aside the images that may immediately rush into your mind. We have been conditioned to think of legacy as something reserved for the titans of history, for the kings, the conquerors, the industrial giants. We think of marble statues in city squares. We think of the names carved into the stone facades of universities and libraries. We think of vast fortunes passed down through generations. This is the great misconception of legacy. This view portrays legacy as a monument, something you leave behind after you are gone. It makes legacy a posthumous affair, a concern for the end of life, a passive result of accumulated wealth or fame. This understanding is not only limiting, it is a profound misreading of the laws of a meaningful life. True legacy is not a monument you leave. It is the life you live. It is not something you build at the end. It is something you build with every breath, every choice, every action, every single day. It is not a static object to be remembered by. It is a living, dynamic, and powerful ripple that you send out into the world. A ripple that continues to expand long after the stone has been dropped. The world may not remember you for the monuments you build, for monuments crumble. It will remember you for the ripples you create, for ripples travel across the ocean of time. Our work in this final chapter, then, is to understand the nature of this living ripple. It is to learn how to become a conscious creator of a legacy that is not found at the end of life, but is formed in the very heart of it. A living legacy is not one-dimensional. It is a harmonic chord, composed of three distinct but interconnected notes. These are the three dimensions of a life that echoes in eternity: the legacy of character, the legacy of contribution, and the legacy of connection. Let us first examine the foundation upon which all else is built, the legacy of character. This is your inner monument. It is the answer to the question not, what did I get, but who did I become? This dimension of your legacy is forged in the silent, unseen moments of your life. It is not built in the spotlight. It is shaped in the shadows. When no one is watching, when there is no applause to be gained, and when the only witness is your own conscience. Your character is the cumulative result of every promise you keep to yourself. It is the product of the daily discipline we have spoken of. It is the strength you build when you choose the harder right over the easier wrong. It is the integrity you demonstrate when you speak the truth, even when a lie would be more convenient. It is the resilience you model when you rise from a fall, not with bitterness, but with wisdom. Think of two builders, constructing two identical structures. The first builder is concerned only with appearance. He uses cheap materials where they cannot be seen. He rushes the foundation. He cuts corners on the internal framework. From the outside, his building looks magnificent, but it is a hollow shell, built for applause, and it will not withstand the first great storm. The second builder is an architect of integrity. He is obsessed with the unseen. He spends most of his time on the foundation, ensuring it is deep and solid. He uses the finest steel for the internal framework. He knows that the true strength of his building lies not in its beautiful facade, but in its structural integrity. His building may look identical to the first, but when the storms of life come, his will stand as a refuge, unmoved, unshakable. Your character is that internal framework. You are building it right now, with every choice you make. The world may only see the facade of your achievements, but the universe feels the vibration of your integrity. Are you building a fortress of excuses, or a temple of courage, a pile of regrets, or a tower of resilience? This legacy of character is the most personal, but also the most fundamental, because you cannot give what you do not have. You cannot contribute value to the world from a place of inner bankruptcy. You cannot inspire courage in others if you have not first cultivated it in yourself. Who you are speaks so loudly that the world can barely hear what you say. Your character is the silent, powerful broadcast that sets the tone for your entire life. It is the legacy you leave in the quiet moments, in the way you respond to frustration, to failure, to fatigue, and it is the essential foundation for the second dimension. Let us now turn our gaze outward to the legacy of contribution. This is the outward ripple. It is the answer to the question, not, what did I accumulate, but what did I create? This is the tangible expression of your definite chief aim. It is the service you render, the problems you solve, the value you add to the human experience. This is not a measure of size, but of sincerity. You do not need to build an industrial empire or find a cure for a disease to leave a profound legacy of contribution. The craftsman who builds one perfect table, a table of such beauty and utility that it brings joy to a family for generations, has left a legacy of contribution. The teacher who ignites a love for learning in a single student, a spark that goes on to illuminate that student's entire life, has left a legacy of contribution. The parent who raises a child to be a kind, courageous, and independent human being has contributed a masterpiece to the future of the world. Your contribution is the unique gift that you, and only you, can give to the world. It is the product of your unique talents, your passions, and the wisdom you have gained from your unique struggles. To neglect to give this gift is the greatest tragedy of all. It is to die with your music still inside you. Think of your life as a single, smooth stone. The world is a vast, still pond. The undisciplined mind, the drifter, holds onto their stone for their entire life. They polish it, they admire it, they guard it jealously, and when they die, the stone simply falls from their hand and sinks with a quiet plop, creating no effect at all. The architect of legacy understands that the stone is not meant to be kept. It is meant to be thrown. They take their life, their skills, their energy, and with a clear and definite aim, they cast it into the pond. The stone itself may sink and disappear from view, but the ripples it creates travel outward, ever expanding, touching shores the thrower may never see. Your legacy of contribution is not the stone. It is the ripple, the good you do, the value you create, the problems you solve. These actions set in motion a chain of cause and effect that you cannot possibly comprehend. The business you build may provide the job that allows a parent to send their child to college, and that child may go on to change the world. The kindness you show to a stranger may give them the strength to persevere through a dark day, and they may go on to pay that kindness forward 1,000 times. You do not need a stage to influence. You need conviction. You do not need an audience to contribute. You need to serve. Every single day, you are faced with a choice. Will you hold on to your stone, or will you cast it? Will you be a reservoir of hoarded potential, or a river of flowing contribution? And this brings us to the third, and most enduring, note in the chord of legacy. It is the one that gives the other two their immortal echo. It is the legacy of connection. This is the enduring echo. It is the answer to the question, not what did I achieve, but how did I make others feel? You may build a flawless character. You may make a monumental contribution. But if you do so with a cold heart, your legacy will be a cold one. It will be a statue admired from a distance, but never loved. The most immortal part of your legacy is not what is written in stone, but what is written in the hearts of others. This is the legacy of your encouragement. It is the belief you instilled in someone when they did not believe in themselves. It is the strength you gave to a colleague, the mentorship you offered to a young person, the patient ear you lent to a friend in need. It is the courage you inspired when fear was easier, the faith you modeled when doubt was louder, the perseverance you demonstrated when quitting would have been justified. People may forget the details of what you did. They may forget the exact words you said, but they will never, ever forget how you made them feel. Did you make them feel small, or did you make them feel seen? Did you make them feel judged, or did you make them feel empowered? Did you leave them with less hope, or did you leave them with more? This legacy of connection is not built in grand gestures. It is built in the small daily moments of human interaction. It is in the quality of your presence. When you are with someone, are you truly with them? Or is your mind elsewhere, on your problems, on your goals? The gift of your full, undivided attention is one of the most profound legacies you can leave with another human being. This is the part of you that truly becomes immortal. Your wealth will be spent. Your creations may be surpassed. Your physical monuments may turn to dust. But the love, the strength, and the belief you plant in the heart of another person becomes a living seed. It grows within them, and they, in turn, plant its seeds in the hearts of others. This is the ripple that never, ever stops. It is the story of your life, told not in your own voice, but in the chorus of the lives you uplifted. Character, contribution, connection. This is the threefold nature of a living legacy. And the profound truth is this: you are writing it right now. Legacy is not a final project you begin when you retire. It is a daily practice. Each day is a fresh page in your biography. Each choice is a new sentence. The way you handled that frustrating phone call this morning, that was a sentence in your legacy of character. The effort you are putting into your work right now, whether seen or unseen, that is a sentence in your legacy of contribution. The way you will greet your family or friends this evening, that will be a sentence in your legacy of connection. The future will not ask what you hope to do. It will simply reflect what you did, day after day after day. You do not need to wait for a grand gesture. You are already building your monument, or digging your own grave, with the small trowel of your daily choices. So, as we bring our great work to a close, let this be your final charge. Go forth from this place and become a conscious architect of your legacy. Live with intention, speak with truth, act with honor, serve with sincerity, connect with an open heart. Let your legacy be a mirror of your inner life. Authentic, unwavering, real, not perfect, but powerful. Your life is your magnum opus, your great work. The universe is your canvas, and your actions are the paint. What kind of masterpiece will you create? When your time is past, as it will for all of us, your legacy will speak, not in stone, but in stories. Not in monuments, but in the uplifted minds of those you inspired. Not in riches, but in the beautiful, enduring ripple you left behind in the great pond of life. Your architecture is complete. Now, go and live within it, not just for yourself, but as a shelter, as a lighthouse, as a testament to the magnificent potential that resides within a human being who dares to choose their destiny. Your legacy is not waiting to be written. You are writing it now. We have reached the summit. Together, we have journeyed from the nebulous lowlands of chance and confusion to the clear, rarefied air of purpose and design. We have stood together in the silent kingdom of the mind, and you have claimed your rightful throne, your absolute sovereignty over the thoughts that create your world. You have learned that your inner realm is not a chaotic battlefield, but a kingdom awaiting its ruler. From that place of power, we seized the architect's pen and drew the immaculate blueprint, the great cornerstone of your new life, your definite chief aim. You have transformed a vague wish into a burning obsession, a North Star that will now guide every decision, every action, and infuse every moment of your life with meaning. Recognizing that no great cathedral is built by a single hand, we then explored the great multiplying force of the Mastermind Alliance. You have learned to step out of the barren lands of isolation and into the exponential power of harmonious cooperation, to build an engine of genius that will propel you toward your aim with a speed and certainty you once thought impossible. With our plans in place and our alliance formed, we did not shy away from the realities of creation. We walked together into the very heart of the forge of character. There, we faced the fire of what the world calls failure and understood its sacred purpose, not to break you, but to reveal you. We have begun to cultivate the unbreakable muscle of resilience, and you have taken into your hands the mighty hammer of action, the only true antidote to the phantoms of fear and doubt, and to ensure that this magnificent structure would not only be built, but would endure. We installed the two great sustaining forces. You have embraced the quiet, steady engine of daily discipline, the promise you make to your future self, and the profound, empowering fuel of gratitude, the strategic perspective that finds the blessing in every circumstance. Finally, we stood back and beheld our creation, and we placed upon it the crowning achievement, the very reason for its existence, the understanding of a living legacy. You have come to know that you are not merely building a life of success, but a life of significance, a ripple of character, contribution, and connection that will echo in eternity. The architecture is complete. The system has been revealed. We have surveyed the entire philosophy, from the most intimate workings of a single thought to its ultimate expression in the fabric of the world. And so, here you stand, in the great hall of your own finished design. You hold in your mind the complete blueprint for a life of power, purpose, and peace. The journey of learning is over, and the real journey of living is about to begin. For what is the value of a map to a man who refuses to take the first step? What is the worth of a powerful engine to a ship that remains anchored in the harbor? This knowledge, this entire architecture, is dormant and useless until it is animated by a single profound force, your decision. The decision you make in this moment, and in every moment that follows, will determine whether our time together has been a fleeting intellectual exercise or the absolute turning point of your existence. Let us speak with perfect clarity. The person who began this journey with me is not the same person who is listening now. You have been exposed to a truth that, once seen, cannot be unseen. You now know that you are not a creature of circumstance. You now know that you are a creator of circumstances. The veil of victimhood has been torn away, and you now stand face to face with the awesome and terrifying responsibility of your own power. You are the author. Whatever yesterday held failure, heartbreak, confusion, despair, it was a chapter in your book. It may have been a chapter of pain, a chapter of wandering in the wilderness. You may have read that chapter 100 times, believing it to be the whole story. You may have allowed the ink of your past regrets to stain the pages of your present. But listen to me now. That chapter ended last night. When your eyes opened this morning, a fresh, clean, perfectly white page was turned. And in your hand right now sits the pen. You, and only you, will decide what the next sentence will be. The past is a library of reference. It is not a life sentence. You can draw from its wisdom, but you are not bound by its errors. You are not just a character in your story, doomed to repeat the same patterns. You are the author, and the author has the divine power to revise, to evolve, to learn, and to shift the entire direction of the plot when the story calls for something greater. The drifter, the person you are leaving behind, allows their past to hold the pen. They are defined by their former pages. They look at their mistakes and conclude, "This is who I am." The architect, the person you are now becoming, looks at those same pages and declares, "This is what I have learned." The first is a prison. The second is a classroom. The page before you now is blank. It is unwritten. It is yours, and it is waiting for your command. This is the sacred moment of the pivot, the moment when the main character, faced with all that has come before, chooses courage over comfort, faith over fear, progress over paralysis. That character is you. That moment is now. But I know the voice that whispers to you in this moment. It is the voice of the old self, the guardian of your former limitations. It is the voice of doubt, and it may be louder now than ever before. It may be saying, "This sounds wonderful, but it's not for me. I am not disciplined enough. I am not strong enough. What if I try this, and I fail again?" You must understand the nature of this voice. This doubt is not a stop sign. It is not a verdict. It is a signal. It is a sign that you are standing at the threshold of your own evolution. It is the trembling of the ground just before a great structure is raised. It is the screaming protest of your old identity as it sees you preparing to become something more. The greater your vision, the louder this inner voice of resistance will become. Do not fear it. Do not argue with it. Smile at it. Thank it for showing up, for it is the confirmation that you are on the right path. It is the tax you pay for ambition. Doubt can ride in the car with you, but it does not get to touch the steering wheel. You are the driver. You are the one who sets the course. You do not need to erase your doubt. You only need to refuse to obey it. And so we arrive at the great divide, the two paths that diverge from this very moment. The first path is wide, easy, and gently slopes downhill. It is the path of the drifter you are leaving behind. To take this path requires nothing. All you must do is close this window, return to your routine, and allow the fire that has been kindled within you to slowly die out. You can treat this philosophy as an interesting idea, a temporary boost of motivation. The silent thief of neglect will do the rest. The comfort of the familiar will lull you back to sleep. And years from now, you may find yourself on that same desolate shore of regret, haunted by the ghost of the person you could have become, whispering the most tragic words in any language. What if? That is the path of the slow surrender. But there is another path. This path leads upward. It is steep. It is narrow. It is not crowded. It is the path of the architect. It is the path of conscious, deliberate, and disciplined creation. It is not the easier path today, but it leads to a future of freedom, power, and peace that the drifter can never know. To step onto this path requires an act. Not an act of thought, but an act of will. A declaration, a commitment. This is your final call to action. It is a call to take the first, symbolic step onto this new path right now. There are two parts to this action. The first is a commitment to your continued growth. Your architecture is complete, but the study of a great philosophy is never finished. To ensure you remain connected to these principles, to ensure you have a community of fellow architects on the journey with you, I invite you to make this connection permanent. Subscribe to this channel. This is not a request for a metric. It is an invitation to make a symbolic vow. Let this click be your signature on a new contract with yourself. Let it be your declaration to the universe that you are no longer a drifter, that you have enlisted in the army of creators for the remainder of your days. Join us, and let us continue this study of mastery together. The second part of this action is your first act as a builder of legacy. The very first principle of a living legacy is to move beyond yourself. Therefore, your first assignment is to share this message. Think of one person in your life who is struggling, who is drifting, who needs to hear that they are the author of their own story. Your first act as an architect is not to build for yourself, but to extend a hand and give this blueprint to another. In that single act of contribution, you begin to build your legacy of connection. You start your first ripple. These are your first steps. They are simple, but they are not small. They are the physical actions that ground your internal decision in the real world. They are your first swing of the hammer in the forge. So, stand tall. Walk forward. Remind yourself that before you build the dream, you must first build the dreamer. Remind yourself that you are not a victim of your past, but the master of your future. The power that has created worlds resides within you, awaiting your command. The time for study is over. The time for application is at hand. The page is blank. The pen is in your hand. Your story deserves more than a rerun. It deserves a resurrection. It deserves a rise. Your masterpiece is waiting. Now, begin.